Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Big West Mafia Show, part of the College Football Mafia. Thank you to our subscribers, our channel members, especially for joining us, and everyone out here in chat. We got a lot of people in the early crowd. I appreciate you stopping by. I know we went on hiatus last week. We had other pressing issues, but we're feeling better now. Just want to say a quick hello to Johnny Bard, Timothy Green, Joaquin, Nathan Campbell, Glenn Lumen. Good morning from the Philippines, Glenn. I'm sure you saw the eclipse from all the way over there. Probably more than we did here in Washington, at least. It said the ICAV, if I'm saying that wrong. I'm sorry. Don in Kansas, hello again. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for stopping in here. And with me is my fantastic co-host, Becky Go Huskies. How we doing, Becky?
I'm doing good. Good. A lot happened this week. This was a busy week.
Yeah, we take a week off and we get, a month's worth of news all at once, it seems.
Right.
Yep. And I don't know, just real quick, I wasn't able to catch the women's national championship, but I'm greatly assuming that you did, and probably a lot of our chat. So just your quick thoughts on it and the insane TV rating that it got.
No shock on the TV rating. It's pretty much a standalone Sunday thing now. And Caitlin Clark she draws a crowd, and everybody wanted to see if she could get that championship, and she wasn't able to do it, but hats off to South Carolina. That team was insanely good. It was good all year. I personally had them losing before that game because I was like, well, nobody really goes undefeated anymore, but no, they went undefeated. They were good. And God, the women's game is growing so much. We deserve football stadiums too now.
Yeah, it was definitely impressive to me. Again, not the biggest hoops fan in the world, but anytime someone goes undefeated and runs the whole season to a championship, especially in a major sport, regardless men's or women's, that's absolutely impressive. I know Caitlin Clark, they all have strong opinions about her. I just, as a casual observer, she's a fantastic player. If you want to say she's unlikable, this, that, or the other, there's no doubt she has skills on the court. So, gave everyone a great championship game to watch. And what did you think of the eclipse today from beautiful, sunny Western Washington?
Oh, yeah, so sunny. So sunny.
Yes. To everyone who's out there who was able to watch it, I'm very, very jealous of you. We saw a part of the partial one a few years ago, but Moen has been ranting and raving all afternoon about how incredible it was.
Yeah, because he could actually see it. We couldn't even see the sun. We're just going to be honest. So technically we got an eclipse, just blocked out by clouds. That counts, right?
Yes, the cloud became our eclipse, certainly.
Yeah, it was 100% for like 8 hours now, so we're good.
Yeah, I saw this pop up before we get into all of our other stories. Rock, you're gonna have to update us. I did not catch Greg's show today. Was he dropping bombshells and haymakers in chat? Did he throw out something pretty spicy there? If you could let us know what that was. I wasn't able to catch his show, but I know he's been kind of taking a different direction on some of the realignment news and legal filings as of late.
Apparently, was it Nebraska's terrified they're going to get kicked out of the Big Ten?
Yeah, the AAU status rears its ugly head again, and Oregon's shaking in their boots. They need to build a hospital soon to keep theirs, but I'm sure Phil Knight's got enough money that he'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I again, brand new to the Big Ten, but I always thought the AAU thing, it's like a cherry on top thing. It's not the end all be all. I don't think it's required. I think for a team like, there we go. Big Ten, Miami, and FSU, kind of what we've been talking about forever. But if I believe Miami is AAU and FSU is not, am I right on that one?
Yeah.
Hopefully.
No, you're right.
Yeah, but I think the biggest thing with the Big Ten, they value academics, and the AAU, it's not like a hard stop, but you better have a plan to try and achieve that you can show them. That's all I took away from what they're evaluating. Like FSU, I mean, they're a very good academic school. All power schools are good academic in some way, but AAU requires, specific research, et cetera, et cetera. And I just think the Big Ten wants to see a roadmap to that.
Yeah.
And the other portion of it, UNC, Clemson, Virginia, and NC State. Huh.
That's probably because they're a pair. I think it's been leaning that NC State and North Carolina would have to go together, or you get neither. So.
Well, I'm curious because we've heard varying degrees of which two schools are more tightly bound together, the North Carolina schools or the Virginia schools. And it was always my impression that the Virginia schools would have to be separated kicking and screaming because their state government would make it difficult.
Yeah.
But perhaps that's not the case. So.
Yeah, I mean, having lived in Virginia for a short period, Virginia Tech, there was a big deal about Virginia Tech getting to the ACC for this reason. So, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if politicians were like, no, they're at the hip too. So,
yeah, absolutely, and good a time as any, I suppose, to plug. To all of our channel members out there, we really, really appreciate the contribution. I promise you it takes a lot to run this on the back end, and it just allows us to bring you bigger and better content going towards the future. Wild Ute has put out the next in his series. He's now moved on to the Big 12. He's doing Louisville to the Big 12 with his prediction analysis. And not spoilers, but let's just say he has a very positive outlook of Louisville compared to his previous perception. It looks better in his eyes after his analysis, but go check that out. Become a paid member. You'll get access to it. And for everyone else, if money's a little tight, like it is for most people these days, the Wazoo OSU Ute analysis video just went public, and I'm shocked. I'm actually shocked. So we can spoil that one. Washington State and Oregon State, per the Wild Ute model, are second and third to last, only ahead of Kansas State and Iowa State. What are your thoughts on that in the Wild Ute prediction model?
It's not a shock. The big thing is like they both get views, what they did last year. Yep. They'll probably continue to get views if you can figure out when and where they're going to be on TV. But it's not a shock. Like their brands aren't that big, but I mean, I don't think they'll end up there unless like all hell breaks loose, per se.
Yeah, it was pretty surprising to me, and I think what really hurt them, because you weighted certain things, is that their market, because they're in really small DMAs, even though I believe he credited part of Seattle to Wazoo and part of Portland to Oregon State, but that hurts him, and he put a heavier weight on basketball historic and present success, which for the Big 12 it matters more, because I think his logic.
It still doesn't matter more, though. I know his logic. No. I'm just saying basketball doesn't matter on that level. If basketball mattered on that level, Kansas wouldn't be in the Big 12.
I'm just saying he weighted it higher for the Big 12, not by a lot, but by a little bit more, because Yormark has this grand plan of his, to make it the next big thing. And honestly, with the way the tournament has been going with viewership, it's hard to argue that there's not some more meat on the bone for basketball conference.
No, there's not. It's just that, but what everybody has pointed out, though, is, again, the biggest viewed games didn't have a Big 12 team in it.
Yeah.
So.
All right, we'll just do our quick rundown. I thought we'd get through some West Coast news. I know our chat's hot and heavy into the realignment stuff already. We really appreciate everyone throwing your comments in there. We'll get to as many as we can, but I promise you, we will read any and all super chats as long as they don't violate YouTube terms of service. Those are our rules. We will insult our own teams, insult the other teams within good taste, but it cannot violate YouTube terms of service. Because we like people. Being able to do this show, and we don't want to get kicked out.
I don't want to have to say this is a TVMA show. We want to stay TV PG. We might go Y14. We might go Y14. TV,
So real quick, I'm going to lean on you. Just if you want to do a 60-second spring ball recap. I know big on UW. If you caught anything else from the other schools going on, I have a few coaching notes I can get into for the other West Coast schools.
Big thing. Bill Belichick was at the University of Washington this last weekend.
Yep.
There are videos of him doing. There was actually a coach's. What's the word I'm looking for? It was a coach's seminar for high school coaches in the state of Washington. He came and then he stuck around for the 1 day of practice because they're practicing essentially every other day. And yeah, there's the photo in the UW gear. He took photos.
To our chat, this is our Husky Homer news of the day. So we're Husky Homers.
Yeah.
This is our one. You got to give us our mulligan. But I actually got a little more info on Belichick. So apparently he's staying for 5 days, which includes 3 or 4 practices. And there are photos of him today. Obviously, his son's the new defensive coordinator, but he's not just kind of hanging around for a photo op. Like you said, he spoke to a big group of local coaches. That's an event Jed Fish put on, mostly high school coaches. And he was in defensive meeting rooms and I guess giving guys pointers. And he's obviously not a full-time member of the staff, but to have, the most accomplished NFL coach of all time giving your guys pointers, that's got to carry a lot of weight. And I know they were hosting some big name recruits also.
They landed a 4-star. Yeah, they landed a 4-star kid from 2026 after he talked to Belichick. Yeah. They also, the Indiana transfer, who I did not realize, the Indiana defensive tackle, I can't remember his name.
I don't know his name off the top of head, but yeah, I know they were hosting
Google Danny Shelton.
Also transfers.
If you guys don't believe me, Google Danny Shelton. Danny Shelton's like 6 feet tall, like 350 pounds. He looks like he
Auburn, if I'm not mistaken, didn't he?
Yeah, he played at Auburn High School, but he looks like he could eat Danny Shelton. This kid was huge. I was like, oh my gosh. But as far as other spring practices go, USC hosted a ton of recruits, and they landed a bunch of 5-star 2026, 2027 kids with verbals. They landed a couple of transfers over the weekend as well, who are really high-level transfers. Oregon had one of their starting offensive linemen enter the portal today from the past 2 seasons. But again, they're now like 8-9 over the max on scholarships. So, there's going to be more turnover there. And then UCLA still kind of quietly just kind of doing their thing. Yeah. Not a whole lot to report on them other than they have landed a few verbals from some top level kids in Los Angeles as well. So.
Yeah, for sure. And USC always has the ability to flex their recruiting muscle, being who they are and where they are. It was something like, I think it was like Travis Scott and Cardi B were at practice or some, high-end profile LA types. And that's the, it's the dog and pony show they put on. Call it jealousy, but it works. It works.
It works. It works. It worked for Pete Carroll.
It did.
Pete Carroll had Snoop Dogg on the sidelines and Dr. Dre and them like, oh, no. Yeah, no, those kids, like, it resonated. But
Brian Pete Carroll years were certainly something else.
Yeah, so like none of it shocks me. They're gonna do their thing.
Yeah, and kind of along the same lines, we kind of see it still seems like there's a funnel of coaches from certain programs to other programs, and Oregon pretends they're not a stepping stone, but Ohio State pulls Oregon's Carlos Loughlin for their new running back coach, and immediately following, Oregon pulls the running back coach Rashad Samples from ASU. So you see the dominoes fall yet again for coaching, and even at the, we can be what it is. We lost our coach to Alabama. It is what it is. Everyone, we immediately got dunked on by Ducks for being stepping stones, but it is what it is. And, if big programs have big money, they can kind of take whoever they want.
Yeah, there's levels to these things. Like a lot of schools that are like, well, first off, the University of Washington has only lost now 3 head coaches ever to another program.
Yes.
So like in the history of the program, and we can go through it. The first one was Eddie Royal, Texas.
Daryl K. Royal.
Daryl K. Royal.
Yeah, to
Any
our Texas
Texas
fans out
fans, you know
there,
exactly who he is.
Yeah,
He
he coached at
there for
UW
1
for
year
1 season before he
and
went
then
to
bolted.
Texas.
But in all fairness, he realized this is not the cult. Like, this is a different culture that I'm used to from the South. He had never coached anywhere outside the South,
even in the 50s.
Yeah. And then the other one, obviously, was Steve Sarkisian. His dream job was USC. We don't have to get into what happened there. And then now Kalen DeBoer, who,
Indeed.
again, look at where they went. Texas, blue blood. USC, blue blood. Alabama, blue blood. So you can't compete with them when they want to pay. And I say this to everybody, if your school's not a blue blood, it's going to be a stepping stone. Like, guys want to go somewhere. Jed Fish has essentially made no bones about it. He wants to go to the NFL.
Yeah, it's been very obvious, and I think it's just about managing expectations.
Yeah. And if he left for Florida, let me just be honest. If he left for Florida, that's his alma mater. Okay, you leave for Florida, it's your alma mater. I can't fault you for going to your alma mater, right? But I don't think it'll happen.
We can touch on this, Illini Ted. So I believe it was middle of last week. We may not have got to it on the show, or they hired him after, but they hired a guy named Danny Sprinkle. Do I have that right?
Danny Sprinkle.
Yep. Losing my mind. So Danny Sprinkle was actually, his dad played football at Washington. So he has a family connection. He grew up in, the Idaho-Washington border. He was actually born in Pullman, but he tells stories about his dad and he watching Husky games growing up. So he's very much a UW guy and was coaching at Montana State and then Utah. He actually just had, or Utah State rather. He just had that Utah State in the tournament and it's about as good a hire as I could imagine for the Huskies.
Yeah, he'll tell you, Danny Sprinkle will tell you, I was only born in Pullman because there were no hospitals open in Moscow.
Yeah, indeed.
And that was the truth. I guess at the time when he was born, the hospitals in Moscow weren't open 24 hours.
Yeah.
But he was really raised in Montana. He didn't live really anywhere else outside of like Montana. He was in Helena, I think it was.
Yeah, and despite him being a Montana State guy, I won't hold that against him.
Yeah. But no, he doesn't have Midwest ties. However, he's a great coach. He had no points. Let me just be honest here. Not 1 point per game player returned to Utah State this year. Not one. They made the tournament. He took Montana State to the tournament in consecutive years.
Yeah, and with those West Coast ties, I absolutely
he's a really good coach.
To be able to recruit and do well.
Yeah.
And kind of along those lines, this one has been curious to me is we thought the college football coaching carousel started kicking off with Washington and Saban retiring was big, but this college basketball one, even not knowing much about hoops as I do, first you have Andy Enfield to SMU, and credit to Jen Cohen, he was not. Oh, Dennis, you're breaking my heart here, Grizz fan. Yeah, of course. Go Grizz.
No, go Bobcats.
Forget it. I actually should be more split because I have my dad's side is from Montana and I have both Grizz and Bobcats, but I ended up a Grizz fan out of the bunch. But anyways, yeah. So we have Andy Enfield was more or less forced out at USC. They had a terrible season, and you get all the hype from Bronny James being there. And we know that LeBron James can snap his finger and fire coaches whenever he wants. But from the sounds of it, it's actually Jen Cohen, our former AD at Washington, actually putting people in their place and saying, the standard has to be higher. So they end up hiring Eric Musselman, who I only know a little bit about just reading up on him briefly. He's done fairly well, coached Arkansas to some pretty good seasons, considering the SEC is tough at times. And if I'm not mistaken, was also an NBA head coach and was a hotly desired recruit or hotly desired coach, rather.
Yeah, I didn't have Eric Musselman being the one that causes a blue blood to lose their head coach, but here we are.
No, that's that's the big one out of the bunch is what kind of broke this morning for sure.
Yeah, late last night I was watching WrestleMania because gotta watch WrestleMania.
Indeed. Well, I don't have
and it was
that
good.
kind of money,
And it was
but
good.
to
You
those
don't have that kind of money. It was on Peacock.
then you get the big one, Mr. Greasy
Calipari.
handshake and all. I'm not a fan of his.
Hold on.
Decides to
Pickles.
leave Kentucky.
Pickles, over under in the number of years before we find out that there were like things going on at Kentucky. How long do you think we find out?
I give it 2 weeks.
Oh, I would have given it like
generous.
6 months. It's generous. 2 weeks is generous. I would have given it like 6 months. The only place he went to that didn't have issues was the New Jersey Nets. I think he was head coach because they're in the NBA. Oh my gosh. No, this one's wild though. I would never have said Arkansas could pull the head coach of a blue blood program to them.
Considering their budget, the budget deficit is crazy. Like Arkansas has some money, but the SEC, they're especially for Kentucky basketball, that's big bucks. And allegedly some donors made promises to the coach himself that they were going to give him an enormous NIL budget to go pull whoever he wants in recruiting. We'll see if it actually pans out.
That's the big question. I mean, like, as far as like Kentucky goes, the only schools that can really compete with them in a basketball NIL are UCLA.
UCLA, maybe like Purdue or Indiana, those kind of schools.
Like Indiana can. They're not
the ones
doing
that
it, but
really
Indiana
focus
could.
on hoops
Duke,
above all else.
Duke, North Carolina.
Yeah, Duke.
Sure. Kansas. You have to go like. They're all only the blue bloods can keep up with them. Probably Gonzaga might be able to, because I've heard some really crazy things about Gonzaga's NIL program for their basketball players.
Yeah, our friend DP, an old Italian boy at Arkansas. Wonder how that's going to work out. We're right there with you, DP. It's going to, pull up your popcorn and watch the craziness.
But let me just say this: I think his buyout was something like 30. It was like if they fired him, they owed him like 33 million.
Yeah, an insane amount.
Buyout still like 10 figures or something crazy like that. Yeah.
And you immediately see the people turn on him. I know he was kind of souring at Kentucky because they have lofty expectations, but he's, despite any personal feelings anyone has about him, there's no doubt he puts talent on the floor and gets pretty far in the tournament most years. The NBA talent he's developed is insane.
I don't think, and I'll say this, I'll be a little honest here, because he was talking about this when they got eliminated. He said, freshmen can't win it anymore. I don't think you could pull the 5 best freshmen in the country and win a national title with them as your starters anymore. I don't think you can do that.
So you think we'll never see a Michigan Fab 5 ever again?
I think you could. But they'll be the exception to the rule. I think he chose to go to Arkansas because he's going to be able to recruit and keep kids there for 2, 3, 4 years. So,
Tony, now Kentucky can be a football school. Yes, indeed,
they can.
That funny money they get.
Well, they got all the money now from this side. Like, they were smart. Let's just let somebody else pay him to get off our hands.
Yep. And the part of interest, perhaps with some of our Big 12 fans out here in chat, is you immediately roll into the next domino. And with a program like Kentucky, you're not going to get too many names out of left field. They're going to be big-time names. Nate Oates, Bruce Pearl, Scott Drew. The other one I saw was people even saying they'll throw money at Hurley from UConn, especially if he wins it. They'll just toss the bank at him.
Yeah, they're going to shoot. They're going to shoot for Hurley. I think they're hot after Drew. I keep hearing and reading about and seeing, Scott Drew.
Yeah, the betting favorite on some betting sites was actually Oates, but Oates has a $30 million buyout, and you're also poaching from a fellow member, which I'm sure Greg Sankey would be thrilled about.
Yeah, Bruce Pearl has a ridiculous buyout too. Like, he's up there in the same figure range. Scott Drew, however, it's around, I think, 12 million, which, I mean, come on. It's Kentucky.
Yeah,
basketball.
Absolutely.
Billy Donovan, probably, I don't think Billy Donovan wants to go back to coaching in college anymore. I think he's very happy in the NBA. He's had a lot of success in the NBA. And I don't think we always hear this. Coaches in the NFL, the NBA, They do not miss having to recruit. They just don't miss that aspect. And with NIL, you can definitely tell that they're not going to miss that aspect.
Yeah, SEC's musical chairs, absolutely. We're seeing quite a lot of that although you're supposed to play nice with your conference mates, and we've said that about DeBoer to Alabama. We believed all along from the very beginning he was holding out for the Michigan job. We thought he was going to go to Michigan. If Saban didn't retire, we, like most Husky fans, truly believe he would be the head coach of Michigan right now.
Yeah, guaranteed.
So, yeah, you're seeing even some infighting within conferences. I guess in the end, the commissioner doesn't really care because they're keeping the talent within conference. They're probably going to look a lot less fondly on, SEC to Big Ten and vice versa, talent shifting. And I don't have the ability today because YouTube is being difficult with me, but go ahead and throw it into chat. So my proposition is, I think that the football coaching carousel of Saban retiring, DeBoer goes to Bama, means Michigan keeps Sharon Moore, Fish to UW, and then Brent Brennan to Arizona. I think that's actually crazier than what we're seeing now, despite the fact it has led to John Calipari leaving Kentucky. So, yeah, you have Saban retiring, DeBoer, Michigan keeps Sharon Moore, Fish to UW.
Wait.
Versus...
Who set it off in college first? Who was it first that left? Was it
Saban retired?
It was Saban, yeah. So
Saban retired.
Yeah, this is the complete opposite. This was SMU. SMU started all this. SMU was like, no, we want your coach.
Yeah, SMU took a guy that USC was freely getting rid of, but then USC makes a great hire by all punditry. They're saying, Mussman to USC. And then the biggest domino, like you're saying, is actually last. It's Calipari to Arkansas, but that's going to lead to another one, whether it's Hurley, Drew, Oates, and you're going to have another big-time vacancy. So it's like one is front to back, the other one's back to front. But, yeah, the carousel in the NIL era is just off the rails.
We just saw Blue Blood in women's basketball have to hire a new coach in Tennessee.
Yeah,
they went out and hired the Marshall coach, which everybody's kind of scratching their heads. Like, where did she come from? But here's the big kicker. This is a kicker. USC was fully wanting to push him out the door. I think Kentucky did the same thing that USC did. And they're just like, go to Arkansas. We're good. Like, they wanted to fire him, but because of that, like, $30 million they'd owe him, they're like, nah. I think they pushed him out.
Yeah. And I always enjoy a bit of good Reddit college football. Calipari leaves Kentucky to Arkansas, and Jimbo Fisher going to A&M. Same energy. I actually feel that, and I could absolutely see a situation where he flames out at Arkansas and they owe him Daddy Warbucks level buyouts.
I mean, I could see it, but it's weird. The whole thing about Musselman is he was the hire at UCLA before their current basketball coach.
Mm-hmm.
And they said something popped up in his background check.
Yeah. He knows the West Coast. There's no doubt about that.
No, he let me say this. USC is going to be really good at hoops quickly. I really believe that. What he did at Arkansas was ridiculous. Back-to-back Sweet 16s. I think they made an Elite Eight. He had to rebuild the roster. He'll be fine. They'll be fine. It's just I'm just more shocked that USC letting a coach go to SMU of all places caused Kentucky to have to find a coach. And now we'll probably see Baylor having to find a coach or somebody in the Big 12.
Can take his shirt off more in LA. Some people love the SoCal life until it doesn't love them back. Just ask Chip Kelly.
Well, Chip Kelly just doesn't like recruiting.
Yeah. And so we get to a fun thing we're going to try because we see him floating all around the internet. We're going to get to our terrible realignment take of the week. And this one is along the lines of the super conference model that we've seen. And again, it's Reddit college football. They put out some funny stuff, but
love it.
I mean, I get that this is just supposed to be kind of hypothetical and funny, but I just look at it. I'm like, what did they do to my boy? what on earth have they done?
I don't know.
The Pac-10 looks great, but the rest of it is just like kind of a head scratcher. The part about this, the part about this that I love though is the Southwest Conference coming back is pretty sweet. I'm here for that.
I'm here for
it. Man, the Big East and the ACC, I think that's really where in all these realignment, discussions is we're talking about what's left of the ACC, because I don't think it'll be Pac-12-esque where there's enough musical chairs left for the people in the ACC that get left behind.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at it and I'm kind of chuckling a little bit because it's like, oh, look, Florida State and Clemson still in the ACC. Yeah, that'll happen.
Yeah.
No, they the Pac-10, let's just go backward 15 years, because that's what it was. The Big East, just all they did was add UCF, Penn State, and Notre Dame. That literally was the Big East for how many years? They're just missing West Virginia.
Yeah, absolutely.
And don't even get me started on the fact that I don't see West Virginia in the Big 12 if the Big East reforms. I think they move back to the Big East. Why not? And yes, I have a squeaky chair, Scott. I actually broke a wheel on it today. I went on the front. I was like, oh.
Yeah. On that note, we really appreciate all of our members, because hopefully we could put some money towards Becky's squeaky chair fund and help her get there. But yeah, just showing here what I mentioned earlier. We got some fantastic videos. Wild Youth's been putting out awesome analysis videos, but our good friend Kuz over at Kuz's Corner has been doing some cool debates. He recently did a video talking about his take on Notre Dame and why he thinks they will never, ever join a conference under any circumstances. No. And as you can see, that Louisville video is currently members only. So please go head on over, become a channel member, and you will get early access to awesome videos like this. And this is how you can do so.
Want to become a member of the College Football Mafia family? Simply select the Join button from our homepage. There are several options with their own unique benefits to choose from. You can also set yourself to auto-accept gifted membership by selecting the gift settings options as shown.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you to all our channel members. And once again, we read any and all super chats. Those also go to support the channel. And as long as they do not violate YouTube terms of service, you can have us insult whatever fan base on here you like. But once again, we appreciate everyone here. Yeah. Scott Schrader, Nebraska to the Big 12. Hell no. I mean, if you think
they're not
about
with Texas. They're not with Texas. I don't understand what the complaint is. They're not even back with Texas. No Oklahoma.
Yeah, apparently there's scuttlebutt out there that Nebraska is so concerned about the Big Ten and the hammer of judgment that they're absorbing the hospital, which I believe is on a different campus.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. Nebraska is the new Temple. Oh, I went there.
Yeah.
I went there, Scott. The new Temple. If you recall what happened to Temple, Temple was in the Big East for a decade, and they got the boot because they weren't good at football.
Yeah, I often
hold on. Pull that back up, though. Let's pull that back up.
All right, no problem. Trying to do some stuff behind the scenes here.
Oh yeah. But I mean, let's look at the top G5. You could just make that a conference, right? You just have one outlier in Boise, but that literally could be a conference.
Yeah, that has been my argument for what Oregon State and Washington State should do. And they are holding out every hope they can either buy their way or luck their way into the Big 12 or what's left of the ACC. And I wanted to throw something else up because I will find it for you here if I can. But I've seen multiple takes from Coug and Beeve fans that Washington and Cal and the other West Coast schools will come groveling back.
Oh, yeah.
Groveling on hands and knees back to the West Coast, and we'll be subjugated more or less to the whims of the Pac-2.
Hey, whatever I'll just be honest. Whatever makes them get through their day, go right on ahead. Because Tony asked the question, are Washington fans angry? They are being fleeced by Washington State. Oregon fans don't seem to be very happy with Oregon State. Oregon fans just aren't happy with anybody. Let's just say that out loud. No, nobody actually cares. I think, like, as far as the schools go, like as far as Washington goes, they just looked right at their boosters and said, "Hey, we need money. Give us money."
Yeah,
so
they're
just gonna get it back.
Yeah, something kind of along the lines of, oh shoot, it's not displaying correctly. What are we doing? Yeah, this is an ACC West is what I see some people throwing out that they'll be able to get their way in. I don't quite understand the Fresno UNLV Boise, but people are really holding out hope that the ACC. I mean, I've even had to argue with Pitt fans about the fact, oh, well, if FSU leaves and Clemson leaves, who needs them? The rest of the ACC is still a great conference, and why would we go to the crappy Big 12? And I'm just like, man, I was in the denial train for a long time with the Pac-12, and I think that's where a lot of ACC fans are living right now.
Well, I mean, as far as like ACC is, I mean, if none of those schools want to join the Big 12, and it's completely possible, I think we have to ask, do they want to be together? And I'll say this out loud. If Notre Dame isn't going anywhere, there's going to be value in those schools that are left over in the ACC. Why? Because Notre Dame will bring eyeballs to that one school each week that they play in their stadium. So he's going to want to pay for that, because they're not going to go. I'm with Kuz. I'm absolutely with Kuz. I don't think they ever join a conference. I don't think they, unless they have zero access, they're not joining a conference.
ACC fans said the same thing to Maryland. Who needs you? Good riddance, et cetera, et cetera. And Dennis mentions, I don't think you want to use Maryland as your model for a school changing conferences. You are correct. They haven't been terrible. I mean,
they've been terrible. They've had some like decent success.
They were stuck in that Big Ten East or whatever, Legends, whatever the hell. So they're playing Ohio State, Penn State every year. They're getting their teeth kicked in. But if you look at their record against the other teams, they're fine.
No, they were fine. They would go like they would go 6-6 because they'd lose 3 games to Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan.
Yeah, just another teaser for our terrible realignment ideas of the week. I thought this one was rather hilarious. The Big Mac Conference. I actually love this one. It's hilarious.
Oh, that's a great name.
And this is so every Midwestern fan is probably like pumping their fist in the air. Not necessarily because they get to play like Akron and Toledo and Buffalo, but just like if you want to watch like punting, linemen, and tight end play, this is the conference for you.
I mean, did we need the MAC to do that? Like, we're joining the Big Ten. Did we actually need the MAC? But you know what would be great? Out of all this, I want to see these teeny tiny stadiums like Eastern Michigan's. If you've never seen Eastern Michigan Stadium,
I have not.
High school stadiums that are bigger. I would love to see Ohio State, like in Michigan, on those fields lined up. And I think Eastern Michigan's field isn't even like green. I think it's gray or something like that. I think they have a colored field like Boise State.
Yeah.
So that would be hilarious. I would be down for this. I'm a big person when it comes to like a proponent of like I want to see the big boys at the small boys schools, and I want to see them on their campuses, and I want to see them using their facilities, and I want them to experience that because it needs to happen. I mean, God, the Oakland Athletics are going to be playing in a AAA ball club's stadium.
Yeah,
so I want to see this.
It's pretty insane, kind of the disparity between it for sure. Rock and Rant's our good friend, so he has been kind of added on as an additional guy behind the scenes. He set up our new College Football Mafia Discord server. Links down below and in the descriptions on all of our pages, or if you just search for College Football Mafia in Discord. That's where we're just having our general chat. There's a couple different sub tabs for, realignment talk or general chat or just talking smack to your rivals, etc. So go ahead and throw it in there and mix it up with everyone. It's a good time. And Unfortunately, I don't know if we'll be able to do it on Mondays because I have 3 kids and Becky is insanely busy. But starting with our midweek shows and certainly our Big Friday show, I believe they're going to start doing Discord After Party, I believe is the working title. But literally just a live chat like a Twitter Spaces. You can go in there and ask your questions and just chat with everybody. It sounds like a pretty good time. And hopefully we'll be able to get one of those on a Big West Mafia show.
People and I wouldn't lie. We may just pop in there in the like actual verbal chats and stuff. Might just pop in there throughout the day. I was in there for a hot minute earlier today, so I might pop in there. I'm actually going to pop in there after this. So if anybody would like to join, we can chat, have fun.
Yeah.
And just, you guys can ask some questions. I'll be in there. So I'm going to go right in there after this.
Yeah, this one's more applicable to you, I think, real quick. I just caught my Becky's WrestleMania Talk Maryland Rutgers or the Mulkey Brothers.
Who are the Mulkey Brothers? I don't know who that is. Like,
I think that's maybe the point, but
Okay. Oh, I mean, I wouldn't have said that. I would have been like, they're more like, Spike Dudley and Gilbert.
Yeah. The guys you send in there to take a beating in the midweek.
They're going to get beaten in. No, the other, by the way, Clint Moses. Yes.
Yep.
Let me just say this. I don't know what's going on at Oregon State University for their women to just bounce. They're just hitting the portal, and that sucks. If anybody doesn't know, Oregon State University's women's basketball program for the last, I want to say 9 years has been legit. Like, they're very close to getting over the hump and winning a national title. And I've been openly hoping that Oregon State will win a national title in women's basketball because it's time somebody did it. When Washington made the Final Four a few years ago, I was like, awesome. We need more of that.
Yep.
But Oregon State's women's team was so close for multiple years. They took a dip, and then this year they played lights out. And by the way, they played a better game against South Carolina than Iowa did. So, and it was actually a much better game. They don't have a prolific shooter. They just walked out there with some freshmen and sophomores and played with the national champs. It was a good game.
Yeah. Sorry, side note. Scott Schrader commenting, if I have 2 more kids, I'll have a basketball starting lineup. If I have 1 more set of twins, I'll be right there. So who knows? Could happen in a hurry.
No, but, you don't want more twins, do you?
No. Well, the problem is that they're fraternal twins, so our chances are higher than normal people of having twins again. Pray for me if that ever happens.
Yeah. And yes, Clint Moses, yes, F the refs. They screwed them over in the end on that game. So, yeah.
I've seen a lot of debate about this.
No, it was
outside observer. I don't know. I used to think that the ref, smack talk in football was bad. Holy goodness, in basketball, it is relentless.
Goodness, what is it? The moving screen from UConn and Iowa.
Yeah.
I was like, I in the moment I was like, oh, that's not a foul. Then they slowed it down, and the more I thought about it, I'm like, if you have to slow it down, not a foul. Don't call it. Definitely don't call it in that moment, but it was a foul, 100%.
Yeah, I've always had the debate with people since slow-mo was a thing and like crazy 4K slow-mo. I think you can have 2 different discussions. You can say it should have been called versus it was a foul. Because I could see somewhere in the moment it wasn't called, even though it was a foul, because the ref's never going to see it that fast.
Well, I'm like, what would have happened if it they had replay on it? They would have replayed it and called the foul in the end anyway. So it's like, it's a foul. But at the same time, I'm like, don't call it in that situation. Don't call it in that situation. By the way, the girl was not even open. It was a terrible screen. She still didn't get open because Iowa's defender switched off.
It was just wonky. I saw the slow-mo of that play. It was very, very wonky. It looked so awkward in person. Again, not a basketball guy. I barely understand the rules, and I'm just like, Yeah, she wasn't really set in place. She just like shoving over.
Sad.
So
No, it had me sad. That was a great game. That was a crazy good game. But I find it on my Twitter. I said that UConn blew that game, and I fully believe they blew that game.
Yeah.
See, even your kid agrees.
Yeah, sorry. That's my daughter's chiming in the background. She's not real happy with everything. Kind of on the
not happy
lines
that foul got called. That's what it is.
Yeah, we've seen the 80-team Super League idea, College Football Plus. I think this is their version of it. And a lot of chatter out there because 80 teams and Super League, everyone kind of panics and everything. To me, it's just rebuilding the G5 or the Power 5 from 2011 and previous.
Yeah,
before we had 12 teams per conference.
Yeah, when the Big East was a real thing.
Yeah. And funny, so Bob Thompson, who has been a fantastic guest on Bomber's show and other shows for us, he says that you don't need 80 teams, you need 48, and you would extract the same value because beyond 48, you are losing value per school because your matchup quality is going to diminish. And we can debate what teams those are, but I'm curious. I'm curious what Chat thinks about that because I thought the number would be bigger. I thought it would be more than 48. He's basically saying there are 48 halves and, almost 100 have-nots, which is crazy.
Yeah. Well, Illini Ted got a foul on Edie for pointing out a fact here a second ago. So we're going to have to put him in timeout. But if anybody else has anything, no. So your thoughts on 70? Real quick. How many do you think is ideal?
There's ideal and then what's actually going to happen. I think ideal, if you're talking about just pure TV and money and ratings, I would say 50 to 60. I could see realistically. There's some borderline schools that it's more like I see a few schools that perhaps don't put up the numbers right now, but put them in more of like a level playing field super conference with a little more control where we don't have crazy unlimited NIL and we don't have crazy unlimited transfers, like some actual governance and teams can, you'll still have schools that kind of live up here, but maybe the floor isn't so low where Rutgers and Maryland aren't just, every good player from their team is leaving. If we get into the player as employees where they have contracts and they must stay for a couple of years or so on, I think you could argue 50 to 60. And what does Chat feel about promotion relegation? I'm a big soccer guy. I love it as a mechanism to like incentivize teams. I hate the idea that there's permanent members, but I understand that the TV networks would never allow a bad year from whoever. I want to point out that if Man United has a horrible 10 years, they will get relegated. Like they will get moved down. But let me just say, when you look at this and you look at it just long enough, you're like, first off, to do this, you can't have a conference commissioner for all of them. Like you can have a conference commissioner, but you have to have somebody else that's literally in charge of all of it. And it can't be who would it be? The NCAA president? Like they can't do that. That literally is way too much for that one individual because they're running the NCAA. So you'd have to actually have a commissioner, like an NFL commissioner kind of guy. And then at that point you're like, well, how much money do each of these schools pitch in to pay this person? How much money do we pay this person? What powers do we give conference commissioners? See, I'm not a fan of 70 because it gets really complicated really quickly. But also, I mean, let's just be honest. They're out of these 70 schools, you could still point to 20 of them that are going to suck. Every year. Every year. We already know who the bottom of the I'll just use as examples. The bottom of the conference historically. In the SEC, it's South Carolina and Vanderbilt historically. As well as Mississippi State. In the Pac-12, it would be Oregon State and Washington State and Cal. Right? Yeah.
And you're throwing BYU in there to beat them up. And then in the Big 12, historically, and a lot of people don't hear this, but historically, it's the two Kansas schools and Baylor.
Yeah.
In the Big Ten.
This isn't to say they haven't had good years.
No, I'm not
Baylor
saying they haven't had good
Heisman
years. I'm just saying,
yeah.
Go through it historically. The Big Ten, like almost all of them, not named Michigan, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Penn State, Wisconsin. Like the rest, the Big East. Name a school in the Big East that's like crazy good. Like out of all of them historically, name a school that's crazy good. Pitt is a historically great one.
Yeah, Illini Ted points out relegation's hard because schools budget their sports based on football money. That's absolutely true. It's not like you're just running just your program off it. You're having to legitimately set up a budget. And there's a massive downside even in European soccer where there's multiple instances of teams that they get relegated and they actually basically go into bankruptcy because the payoff is so drastic, or like the payoff gap. That's why I actually think the part of it being like an incentive for G5 is interesting. But like you said, if a G5 gets promoted and then they expect X amount of money and then get kicked back down,
here's the thing. Where do you throw them? Let's just be honest here. Like, where would you put them? Because out west, we only have like one conference. Like, the only G5 conference that's really out here is the Mountain West. Like, let's say, I'll be honest here. Let's say it's like North Carolina that has to be relegated. Who's next to come up? And you look and you go, it's Boise State.
ECU.
Yeah. You're like, okay, we're going to have to skip Boise State and go to ECU because they're next. Like, how's that? One, how's that fair? And two, how do you make that work? Like, England, it works in England because England's like, the size of California. It works. It can't work in a country that's 3,000 miles. Otherwise, I think we'd have seen it in baseball.
Yeah. Well, and it's like it's not like if your local soccer team gets relegated down a division. It's not like your favorite rugby team also goes bankrupt too.
Exactly.
Dennis points out free market system. We love it, but our sports being governed to protect regulated monopolies. That's kind of true, but you got to look at it like, even in the big American sports, they're individual franchises, but the sport as a whole, the league as a whole, is what's considered for the health of the sport. And there's always haves and have-nots just because that's the world that we live in. But if you're talking about a true free market of colleges and universities, you would literally have colleges running out of money and going bankrupt and closing the college or shutting out all their sports. That's why you can't have it a wide open system.
And then you have like what Clint Moses said, with relegation, the poor become richer, but realistically the poor gets poorer. It's not wrong. Let's just be honest here. SMU going to the ACC is basically what is going to be the closest example that we can get that we're going to see going forward if you can bump them up, because they're not taking any money. But if the ACC kicked them out right now, they're not getting any money for like 3 years, right? At
the risk of kicking the proverbial hornet's nest, because I know there's a lot of not only Big 12 fans but SMU haters out there. I think there's not an unrealistic scenario where due to the ACC schools leaving, who leaves and when they leave and who's left, that SMU ends up in the Big 12.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are not going to be happy that I said that.
No.
But
I
think SMU they're comparable to a Houston, and that's not to disrespect Houston.
No,
but if you're looking at the level of additions, they have some value. And everyone's ranting and raving for Houston, and UCF's kind of its own thing because of the playoff. But the Big 12 adding SMU, I think, actually generates value because you have instantaneous rivals with everyone in Texas, and you have a villain. People will tune in to see a villain, and people try
blown out.
Yeah, especially a villain with money. Like SMU is like mini Oregon in that way. They have all this crazy money they want to spend, but like their fan base is only so big in terms of the actual school.
Yeah, but their billionaire donors are ridiculously wealthy.
And now there's no restrictions on them. They can just buy players.
There's no restrictions, and they're getting ready to die. So they want to like spend because these are the same guys that got them in trouble 40 years ago.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Jeff Woodworth kind of points out, he says we need an NCAA draft instead of recruiting and be able to loan players. Huh. Okay, that's kind of interesting.
The loaning thing I have thought about being probably a good thing. And let me just explain. You get a freshman, right, who's not like, he's not going to play this year, but you send him off, like, especially with the Super League, you send him to the G5. And then he plays at the G5 school. So for example, Texas recruits, 25 players, right? They have 25 players coming in. Well, they have a freshman that they want to get experience, but they have a senior who's not going anywhere. So you have an All-American left tackle. So who's like, nope, I'm coming back to school.
Yeah.
Got this other kid who's the left tackle of the future, you think. You want to get him game experience because he's too good and you don't want to switch his position. So, because a lot of tackles will tell you switching from left to right isn't easy. So you go, we have an All-American here. Let's go get you game experience so it can slow down a little bit for you. You play left tackle at like Akron.
I think that's tough, but it's possible.
It works. They already do things like gray shirting, which people don't realize is a thing. But yeah, there are gray shirts out there where you just go to a community college for a year and then transfer in.
I could see from the player scenario, like if they're under contract and they have I must play at this school for 2 years or I forfeit NIL money, blah blah blah. If they have that a proper system in place, I could see the incentive for them. Like I forget the guy. It's not Dante Moore. Well, Dante Moore is at Oregon now, but what if he's playing for Western Oregon and whatever school or plays for a Big Sky team, but he's starting.
It worked for Cam Newton.
Or the 5-star guy that just went to Boise. If he's still under contract at UCLA, but they loan him to Boise, I think it would require UCLA paying Boise to play.
It would require, so it would be a loan, like you're paying them to
chat, this is one of the more interesting, but I think actually thought-provoking ideas you've thrown out. Much appreciated, Jeff.
Yes.
We're gonna have to run with this one. I'm gonna have to throw this in the brain blender. We'll get back to you in a week. Maybe I could throw it to Bomber on a different show. Yeah, Tony points out this is the back and forth that we've had with Oregon State, Washington State fans saying, so media partners talking about the next round of negotiations, ACC or Big 12 twice as much, or the Big 10 and SEC are taking a huge pay cut. I see some merit to the idea that the rate of growth of what networks are going to pay for college football will level off. But if you have two conferences who continue to take the valuable programs, they might not get as big an increase as they thought they were. But whatever money they do get is coming from whoever lost those teams. If they keep absorbing and collecting valuable properties, the money's going to come from somewhere if it's a finite pool. So I don't want that for the Big 12 or the ACC, but realistically, that's where it would come from.
Well, I mean, I'm on record as saying, like, if either, and I'm saying either, the Big 12 or the ACC just like went, the other's not getting that money. That
ACC
money
should add App State.
Yeah.
Hey, App State would be a really good if you're talking about the player loaning program. App State would be a sweet place for some of those high-end guys. Maybe Clemson could have App State.
Place. But I'm just saying, if the Big 12 or the SEC or the ACC just like whatever happens and it dies, all of that playoff money, that money's not going to the ACC or the Big 12, whoever's left over. So, for example, since we know this may happen, the ACC may go like, we're gone, we're no more a thing because the Big 12 rated us after the lawsuits were won by Florida State and Clemson. Okay, we've been rated. The ACC ceases to exist. Do you think that playoff money is going to go to the Big 12? No. That money is going to go to the Power 2. Like, almost guaranteed that they're going to want, like, it's going to be very difficult for them to, like, keep up with the Joneses, but as long as they have a media deal and they're on TV with them, they're going to be fine. But
yeah,
you got to stay up to watch them probably.
Yeah, and this has been discussed greatly this week too. I actually love Notre Dame staying independent, so you're right in there with Kuz, Chonsky. Notre Dame joined the Big Ten and end college football as we know it. I know you're an infamous Big Ten hater, and we love you. We appreciate all your feedback. We know, but that's a little it's a little out there to say that college football would not exist as we know it.
Well, I mean, it would be fine. It probably would be like, okay, it's Power 2 and everybody else, which I think would suck.
It is.
That would be the worst thing ever, because the best thing that we have that comes up are these upsets.
Yeah.
Notre Dame's watching upsets.
Yeah. Notre Dame is the last true free agent. We know that. I mean, unless you want to talk about crazy stuff like A&M getting mad and joining the Big Ten, whatever. But assuming Clemson and Florida State kind of takes its course, Notre Dame is the last like blue chip free agent. And I'm really on the fence. I kind of have the mind where it's going to become, how much is their pride worth to them? Because they're not going to make as much as the Big Ten. And it's a guarantee that they would make more money fully joining the Big Ten. But they value independence.
Well, and it's like Clint Moses says here. He's like, some schools didn't get a full payment discount to join the Power 2. Yes, Washington and Oregon took a discount.
Correct.
They technically came in after the contract had started. So they were going to take a pay cut anyway. But they don't get, let me just be honest here, and I'll be a little blunt, they're not getting a discount on the playoff money. They get the full share. No. So, okay, they're at $35 million for their share from the media. They're getting $21 million from the playoff. So they're $50-something million, which it's still better. Yeah, it might be a half share, but it's still better than like the Big 12 getting or the ACC's getting. Like, they're still above them. So yes, they're getting half shares, but there's layers to it. It sucks that it has to be that way, but
it does.
It is. And Rutgers are getting full shares. Do they deserve more than some of these schools that are not in the Power 2?
Yeah, I know that this is a bummer for Rock. Rock, you're where we were. You know, you're a Miami fan in the ACC, and allegedly in that never-ending story of a contract. And we understand it. It's hard to see people born on third and do nothing with it. We get it. No matter who you add to a big conference, you're going to have haves and have-nots naturally. You could take the top half of the SEC and the top half of the Big Ten and smash them together, and over time you would still have haves and have-nots. Unless it's literally like, unless you're literally an NFL where it's designed to make bad teams good, artificial parity, you're always going to have some separation. My son is very upset with my idea, apparently. Oh, shoot, I forgot where my brain was going with this. You guys are throwing a lot of good stuff out in chat. And
very good tonight. But we're not getting any trash talk. Give us some trash
not
talk.
a lot of hate.
I'm ready to hate. I'm ready to hate on your school that you hate.
Yeah, Jeff Woodworth, we keep getting this question specifically about the new Big Ten schools and hockey and wrestling. You guys are all about hockey and wrestling. All the incoming schools, I don't believe any of them, or maybe one of them, has a wrestling program. We all have club hockey, but it's expensive. It's expensive.
It's like $200 million right off the bat to build all the facilities. But we can say this because Washington can't do it unless they add a women's sport, because Title IX, they're 55% female student body at Washington. So they can't just, to add hockey, they have to add women's hockey. They can't just add both wrestling and they can't add just both wrestling and hockey. They'd have to add wrestling, a women's sport, and then hockey. They could just do both hockeys. But like I said, it's estimated $200 million to get the ball rolling on that. So
Title IX is holding up a lot of these things, and I don't necessarily want to see Title IX go away. No. But we're definitely going to have a discussion about how it's structured.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe you make football and basketball exempt from Title IX, and then you have all the other sports balanced. But it's tough because a football roster is so big.
Is DP talking about Southern Cal, or is he talking about South Carolina? Which one? Which USC?
Oh, I
both.
believe he means South Carolina.
I believe so.
DP, thank you so much for being here as a Clemson guy. Just understand our West Coast brains. When you say USC, we do not think of South Carolina. In fact, I do not think about them at all. There is only one USC in my mind, and then there is South Carolina.
I have this discussion with my friends who went to South Carolina, and I'm like, nobody out here. I was like, if I walk up to a casual human being in the United States and I say, where is USC? They're not going to tell me it's in South Carolina. The average person's going to say Los Angeles.
Yeah, UW can take Canadians to get the hockey program running. I actually think, I don't know about how competitive they'd be for like national championships, but I think Oregon, Washington, and even most people don't realize how much hockey talent comes out of California. It's an insane amount. Washington actually hasn't had that much, but we actually have 5 major junior teams that play. Those are the guys that go to basically like a semi-pro league instead of college. And, with the Kraken, becoming a team here in the area, hockey's definitely getting a lot bigger.
It's growing. It's growing. We can say
it's just a matter of money and scholarships. It's travel, It could be done tomorrow if they had the financial will to do it.
Where would because the issue out here, and we talked about this, is where would they play? They'd either have to build an arena on campus, which again, okay, that's $200 million probably. They'd have to play at Climate Pledge Arena, which is an NHL arena, which holds 19,000 people. They're not going to draw that.
If you just do lower bowl, that's 8K, and honestly, you could section that off easy.
Yeah.
And the LA schools, they have both the Ducks Arena, the Kings Arena, and it may be their practice facilities. But honestly, USC and UCLA could figure something out. There's tons of sheets of ice in Southern California. They could even renovate a local skate rink to hold, 3,000 seats. I
could see UW playing at Shower Center in Kent or in Everett because they're about 25 miles away. But Oregon would have to flat out either retrofit Matthew Knight Arena to hold hockey, or go back.
Someone posed the alternative. They could play in Portland. They could play not at the Moda Center, but the old Veterans Memorial.
Yeah, but that is it's where farther away than like UW is from their minor. It would get. That's what I said. It would just get very expensive very quickly. They'd have to build something in Eugene to keep the costs down. It's a cost thing, and I don't see Uncle Phil going, okay, I gave you a couple $100 million for a basketball arena. I'll give you a couple of $100 million for a hockey team. I don't see Uncle Phil saying sure to that.
Yeah. I think it's a thing where the Big Ten, I'm sure, would love it. Maybe Oregon doesn't come at first, but the LA schools and UW, because I think you need at least 3 of them to join at one time and be travel partners up and down. It is a long flight from UW to LA, but you're in the same time zone. They're very used to that.
Yeah.
Dennis, 56 NHL players in California. Right, but
that's all in the last
number has been increasing over time as far as how many. Recently there's so many youth hockey teams and tournaments in California. So Jeff Woodworth, my son does tournaments in Seattle. They have a lot of decent rinks, and we're building more. There's allegedly a new 3-sheet one going up.
Yeah, the Kraken are building another one, which is crazy.
I'm just ready for the Illini to Champlain Pond to join the beach volleyball.
Beach volleyball.
Yep,
we have beach volleyball. We have beach volleyball. Yeah, all four of the schools have beach volleyball. In fact, they're all the players play on the other volleyball teams. So.
Yep. Yeah, there's definitely a lot, and all we've kind of come full circle. All this hinges on how well the college football money is. USC quietly securing top 3 recruiting class, not a peep from ESPN. Joey, I'm going to give you my hot take, and it's not just because it's USC. I feel that way about the Huskies getting the number 1 recruit in the state of Oregon in 26. There is a 50-50 shot that any of those guys ever take a snap for the school they're committed to play at. Let's just be real. With how fast things change and multi-transfers and big-time NIL deals, the kid that committed to UW, an East Coast school could come offer him double the NIL because he's a 26 guy. He's got a year and a half before he actually signs. He opens his recruitment back up, and, I remember National Signing Day used to be a big deal and a lot of fun, and now it's just not. It's almost it's a cool thing to flex on your rivals in the comments, and Oregon does it all the time with their offseason natty that they like to post up. But it's not worth a hill of beans unless they take the field, and that's happening less and less now.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, they may not, like when you're talking about like 2026. Like, come on, like those kids may like, you know, they may just take a different path in life. They may just say no.
Yeah.
They may get drafted to baseball. We've seen that before. I'm not.
National Signing Day is still a thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's 2 of them, in
Still a
fact,
thing.
and thank goodness they're moving.
And they're changing the dates on that, by the way. That changes this year.
It's not going to be the middle of the CFP season, thankfully.
Yeah, thankfully. So it gets lost. No,
Yeah,
I mean, all of this is happening. USC, like I said earlier, USC is quietly putting together a ridiculous class. Yeah. And UCLA, I think UCLA has been very quiet since Chip left. UW's just doing their thing, and Oregon's been a little quiet, but Oregon can't recruit anybody because, well, they got to kick people off the roster. So, because they're over on scholarships.
Yeah, wrapping up here, just our final thoughts. I thought I'd give one out to our friend Big Lubbock. Big 12 needs to go get Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
Cheers to everyone in chat if you know what's up.
I mean, yes, I agree. Everybody needs a Georgia Tech.
Yeah. I guess that's going to be my kind of wrap-up thought of the day. If you have any last-minute things in chat, throw a super chat in there. We'd really appreciate it. But just thank you so much for everyone stopping by. Once again, become a member, get access to our exclusive videos before they go live, and join our Discord channel. Our boy Rockin' Rant has been working his fingers to the bone, building that Discord channel for us, and it's going to be a lot of fun in there.
Yeah, I'm actually.
Thank you. It doesn't show the emoji, but I know that one is. Thank you, Ted.
Yep, I'm going to be jumping into the voice chat after this for a hot minute. If anybody joins me.
Yeah, go ahead and mix it up in there. You can just have a live chat and discussion, basically like you're chatting with your friends at the bar out in Discord. It's a fun time. So, Becky, what is your wrap-up final thought, or perhaps something you're looking forward to in the coming week?
I'm looking forward to UCLA getting on the field for spring practice. That's a big thing.
Appreciate it, Clint.
Thank you, Clint. I think we know little to nothing about them right now. They didn't lose anybody in the portal after Chip Kelly left. They haven't really gained anybody in the portal after Chip Kelly left. So it's
Dante Moore.
Odd thing. Yeah, but Dante Moore left
Kelly,
before Kelly. Yeah. But I think he probably knew. But yeah, it's UCLA is the one I'm looking forward to. They have a lot of things to replace on defense, specifically at defensive end and outside linebacker, especially with Latu going off to the NFL. That dude was a legit animal. Like I can't begin to describe how mad I am that UW said his neck was too bad and he couldn't play here anymore. So,
yep, absolutely. The spring portal is upon us, and a wormhole opens up and swallows all the players that are unhappy with where they're at right now.
So unhappy.
Yeah, really appreciate all the kind words in chat. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here with us and throwing out some great ideas. I'm dead serious about that loan a player program. I'm gonna keep that one, thrown around in my head the rest of the week.
What happens if they get hurt?
Really think about that. That's gonna be an interesting one. But yeah, spring portal's upon us. It's a college football or college basketball championships game is rolling on. So go ahead and watch Zach Edey get his fouls, and we get to talk about the refs after the game instead of how good or bad it was. But we really appreciate everyone being here. Go ahead and throw us a like on YouTube. It absolutely helps. And subscribe to our Twitter. We try and keep up to date with all that. Go mix it up in the Discord after the show.
Yep, I'll be in the Discord for everybody who wants to know in 10 minutes. So Peoples and I can have a quick conversation, and then I'll jump right on in. Join me. Let's talk trash-ish. No, we ask questions. You may see other guys jump into. But yeah, feel free to ask some questions and things, and get it off your chest.
Yep. And we will be back next Monday. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Yeah.
8
Scott,
Eastern, 5 Pacific.
Scott Schrader says it best. Scott Schrader says it best.
For joining us here at the Big West Mafia Show, part of College Football Mafia. Thank you, everyone, and good night.
Bye-bye.